Hi everybody, Mischa here with Word of the Day, and there it is. Prosaic. What does prosaic mean? Well, it's an adjective with two entirely distinct meanings. The first meaning of prosaic, which comes into English in 1589, comes in a book called The Art of English Poesy by George Putnam. Now, George Putnam was a literary critic and a writer, and he distinguishes between poetry versus prose. Now, what are prose? A novel, a play, an essay, any writing that's not poetry is prose. And the adjective that you would use to describe that kind of writing is prosaic. Now, the truth is, unless you're with an academic setting or with a bunch of writers, you're not going to be using prosaic in that way. But I want you to know that it's there. About 100 years later, however, prosaic adds some meaning to it. Dull, everyday, unimaginative, humdrum. Where does that come from? It comes from the idea that poetry is beautiful and artful and lovely, and prose are not. They're boring and humdrum and everyday and unimaginative. Okay, now that is the way that people use prosaic now, like 99% of the time. How can you use this word? And don't be intimidated by it. Just because it's not spoken a lot, it's written enough that you should feel like it's a $50 word, but let's use it. Okay, so how about this? And it does come from Latin, prose, and then later prosaica, straight into English. Now, how about this? When we think of cities like London and Paris and Rome, we think, oh, how romantic, how amazing, how gorgeous, how beautiful, how glorious, how glamorous. And I'm sure it probably is. But for the everyday people that go to work and come back on the subway, it's probably pretty prosaic, probably prosaic. Now, how about this? Today, there was a big old UFO, UAP, whatever you want to call it, flying around downtown Los Angeles, and it was big and shiny. And ain't nobody gonna tell me that it was anything as prosaic as a military drone. It wasn't. Gosh. Okay, so feel like you should feel confident. Try to use that word prosaic. Like I say, it's a $50 word, but hey, right? And I'll see you tomorrow.